The professional sporting world is filled with unwritten rules, or a code, so to speak. These unwritten rules set behavioral constraints that are by no means official, at least in the eyes of the league officials. But each transgression against this code comes with its own unique set of consequences, which vary along with the severity of the act. MLB is famous for having an ungodly amount of written rules. Things like when you can't and can flip your bat after a home run, when retaliation is deemed appropriate after a hit batsman, and how rookie players are meant to behave in the clubhouse. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. The unwritten rules are all so encompassing in MLB now that it has become a huge talking point and a source of contempt between the different demographics of players. While the unwritten rules of baseball are certainly discussed the most, that isn't to say that other leagues don't have their own fair share of these unspoken codes. And the NFL is no exception. In fact, the NFL has a ton of unwritten rules that guys have to be aware of, or they may find themselves subjected to whatever consequences their football forefathers deemed appropriate. And while some rules have been slowly phased out as the game and the league has evolved, like when it is appropriate to go for the two-point conversion, there are still plenty of unwritten rules to go around. These rules are taken very seriously too, especially because football is such an inherently dangerous game and many of the rules concern player safety. Let's take a look at some of the craziest unwritten rules the NFL has to offer. The first rule, and arguably the most important rule, under no circumstances are you supposed to try to injure another player on purpose. The players obviously understand it as a physical game and you are going to take your licks here and there, but it is critical that the hits are clean. Former Cincinnati Bengals offensive lineman Eric Winston broke it down like this. Those shots where players blatantly go after guys another way that could really hurt someone after the play, after the whistle, even the most hardened guys that are considered the real tough guys in the league are like, you don't do that. It is a fine line, but there is a way to be the toughest guy out there, the strongest, most physical. That's not like I'm blatantly trying to hurt somebody. It's hard to describe, but it's there, and everybody knows it's there. It makes sense when you think about it, though. Sure, these guys get paid a lot, and that number only goes up if you keep winning games, but the NFL is an exclusive fraternity, and these guys have a very limited earning window. So why would you want to take that away from someone? The league has definitely taken notice of that in recent years, and this unwritten rule has crossed over into the legitimate letter of the law and is now enforceable, at least to some degree. Plenty of quote-unquote physical plays that used to be policed by the players themselves are now punishable by the league, both in the form of penalties and fines. Everyone talks ad nauseum now about how defenders can't hit the quarterbacks anymore, and now everything's a personal foul. But it isn't just the defenders that the league has shifted its tune on. Crackback blocks, peel-back blocks, and many other such techniques that target the knees or head have been banned by the league office. That's not to say that this unwritten rule is dead, though. Instead, it has just evolved. Now guys are more worried about not drilling a player who's trying to get out of bounds or not blindsiding someone that is away from the play, like Warren Sapp's famous cheap shot on former Green Bay Packer Chad Clifton. The unwritten rules of the NFL aren't all just about tackling or player safety, though. A lot of the code centers on respect. Things like who deserves it and how it is shown to those guys, and the group of players that needs to show up every day being humble and respectful. Unsurprisingly, it's the rookies. They should be seen and not hurt. There's a very logical source of conflict between the rookies and the vets in the NFL. Former NFL safety Matt Bowen explained, quote, veterans don't like rookies and we all know why. It's because the rookies are drafted to replace veterans, end quote. So what happens to a rookie that comes into a new team thinking he is the best thing since sliced bread? Well, five-time All-Pro offensive lineman Steve Hutchinson summed it up rather succinctly. I mean, you got a cocky rookie. They're either going to show up and play, in which case they aren't going to be treated like a rookie anymore. Or if he's a bust or he doesn't perform, that'll take care of itself, if you know what I mean. The NFL has a pretty unique way of weeding itself out. And that unique way of weeding out can show itself in a number of ways. Sometimes there is a physical confrontation in practice. Sometimes the player is shunned. Whatever the veterans on the team think will get the result they want, which is either the player getting pushed out of town or snapped back into shape. It isn't just the arrogant rookies that need to be on their best behavior either. The general rule of thumb when it comes to rookie-veteran interactions is that when a vet tells a rookie to do something, they do it, no questions asked. And this extends past the traditional rookie hazing, where guys would have to sing their college fight song, cut their hair, or wear silly backpacks. The veterans that have been in the league for years expect the rookies to do a number of different things for them. Things like buying breakfast for the veterans on Fridays, carrying their shoulder pads or bags for them to and from the practice field. Most players understand this code and happily pay their dues as they should, especially when the punishment is weighed against sucking it up and following the veteran's orders. Or else they may end up like former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Des Bryant did as a rookie, when he famously refused to carry veteran receiver Roy Williams' pads during training camp. At the time, Des explained, "I'm not doing it. I feel like I was drafted to play football, not carry another player's pads." Instead of freaking out on Des, Williams calmly excused it and explained to the rookie, who received over $8 million in guaranteed money from his first-round rookie deal, that all he had to do instead was take him out to dinner and get him some new shoes. Bryant took the offensive players out to Papa's Bros Steakhouse. Williams, however, made sure Bryant got the message, inviting defensive players as well. Players were ordering anything and everything and got to the point that they were even getting bottles of wine to go. The final bill ended up being over $54,000. I bet Des wished he had just respected the unwritten rules of being a rookie in the NFL and carried the damn pads. Former Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Chris Sims told a great story about how the code was enforced down in Tampa during the early 2000s. The team was sitting in the locker room and Mike Alstott, a well-respected player on the team and around the league, asked one of the rookie linemen named Jeb Terry to grab him a Gatorade from the fridge. Yet, for some reason, instead of just walking over to the fridge and just getting him a Gatorade, Terry declined. According to Sims, the locker room started oohing and ahhing and knew that Terry was in for it. Apparently the next day, when Sims and his teammates walked into the locker room, they saw the hood of Terry's truck sitting at the foot of his locker. And outside, all 4 of his wheels were hanging from the goalpost, and his truck was sitting in the lot on cinder blocks. Maybe he should have just gotten the Gatorade. It isn't just the rookies that need to show decorum to their teammates, especially when it comes down to a player's contract situation. As much as football and the NFL is entertainment for the fans, at the end of the day, the NFL is a job, just like everyone else, and just like any professional setting, talking about money is very taboo. The only difference is that in the NFL, when a player gets a new contract, it is all over the news, whereas when John in accounting gets a raise, that is between him and HR. The importance of this is magnified tenfold when it comes to being asked about the teammate's contract situation in the media. In the NFL, as much as players are individuals, it is a big us versus them mentality with the media, and if you cross that line, it is a big violation of one of the league's unwritten rules. Now on the subject of players' money, let's shift the focus to something that a lot of them like to spend their money on: their jewelry. Some NFL players spend tens of thousands of dollars on jewelry, even some more than that. And what's the point of spending all of that money if you aren't going to don it proudly on Sunday? Because the majority of the league has such an appreciation for the valuable accessories, it has become an unwritten rule that you never grab a player by his chain on the gridiron. That's not to say that rules never get broken. There is one recent instance that gained a ton of notoriety and led to one of the most entertaining personal feuds in the NFL. The Aqib Talib chain snatch that went down back in 2017 when Talib played for the Denver Broncos. The Broncos were playing their AFC West rival, the Oakland Raiders, and as he usually did, Talib was tasked with locking down Michael Crabtree, one of the Raiders' best downfield receiving targets. Over the years, the two had been matched up a bunch and they grew pretty sick of each other. It was very chippy during this particular game, and finally the two ended up in one another's face. The climax of the scuffle came when Talib ripped Crabtree's bright and shiny chain right off his neck and tossed it. Crabtree decided to let it go and explained why after the game. "It was too much. You see the dude and what he's doing in front of me. What do you want me to do? I can't react or they kick me out of the game and I'm the bad guy. I made a business decision for my team." Sure, Crabtree probably wanted to fight Talib, and I don't think anyone would have really questioned his decision to do so. I mean, he was within his right to, at least according to the unwritten rules. Instead, Crabtree let it go and ended up being the butt of a plethora of memes and tweets. And I am sure that Crabtree regrets being so level-headed, because even after all of the clowning he took for making the smart football decision, controversy still found him when they matched him up with the Broncos again. Crabtree was also matched up with Talib for a blocking assignment on the right-hand side of the field, and as the pair moved towards the boundary, they remained tangled. The scuffle carried on out of bounds, and when they fell to the ground, Talib reached into Crabtree's jersey and ripped his chain off again. And this time Crabtree had enough and an all-out brawl broke out. The worst part of it all for Crabtree, people realized he actually had his chain taped to his chest, and Talib still got it. Needless to say, the clowning returned in full force. I bet Crabtree wishes that he had enforced this unwritten rule violation the first time around. Football players are commonly referred to as modern-day gladiators. The game is intense and violent, but that doesn't mean that there aren't rules that need to be followed, both written and unwritten. And for those who don't follow these rules, well, they may just find themselves on the wrong side of a $50,000 dinner bill, or worse. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do so by clicking the subscribe button down below. If you liked the video, then like the video, we'd really appreciate it. And last but not least, don't forget to tune into TPS every single day for more cool videos.